Hi, I'm Gail O'Donnell of Cyberite 2, and this is my husband Neil. We've lived aboard for 4 years and have loved 99% of the time. And we bought a sailboat about 7, 8, 9 years ago and kept it for 2 years to see if we wanted to live aboard. And we took a 9-month trip to Florida, to the Keys, on across, and to the other part of Florida and back up to New Jersey. And decided, yes, we want to live aboard, and we needed to sell that boat within a year so we could start on our process of downsizing and getting ready for the big boat. And Neil, you want to say a few things?
In the process of deciding what kind of boat we wanted to go full-time live aboard on, we considered several types of boats and looked at many, including going to California to look at Nordhavens and Willard trawlers. We decided on the Great Harbor 37, and we have never regretted the decision. It has been a wonderful boat for us for 4 years. We have taken it to the Bahamas 2 times. We have taken it from Florida to New Jersey and back again, and have enjoyed every cruise we took on the boat.
Our Bahama trip had a two overnighter coming back, and other times we just done 1 overnighters, like to New Jersey. But the two overnighter was a first for us and was a good experience. I like it when the moon's out better though than when it's not out in the sky. And we had a really good experience. Tired when we come back because we don't sleep well out in the ocean, but it was super. Got back sooner and enjoyed it. And what else? Feel one.
On our last cruise on this boat, which was in the spring of 2003, we took the boat from Green Cove Springs, Florida, down to Miami, spent a couple of weeks in the marina in Coconut Grove, waiting for a weather window. When we got the weather window we crossed over to the Bahamas, to Bimini first, spent a few days in Bimini, and then went around the island, anchored on the east side of the island for a night, a 12-hour trip across the Bahama Bank to Great Harbor. We spent 6 weeks in the marina at Great Harbor, in part due to an ankle injury that Gail had. From there we cruised around the top of Great Stirrup and Little Stirrup Keys, and then anchored our way all the way down to Chub Key, taking a month on the trip. Spent several nights at many of the anchorages, even though we covered geographically about 45 nautical miles from north to south. It took us a month. We enjoyed ourselves swimming, snorkeling, dinghying, visiting the various islands. We spent a little over a week in Chub Key, and then went back up to Anchorage at Queens Beach on the east side of Great Harbor Key, then up to Lakaya, where we spent about 2 weeks, again looking for a weather window to come back to the U.S., and in that time we decided that when we got out into the Gulf Stream, if it looked good, instead of going right across to Lake Worth and back up the Intercoastal Waterway to Jacksonville, we might try riding the Gulf Stream all the way up to the St. Johns River. We put a waypoint in our GPS about 5 miles west of West End on Grand Bahama Island. We hit that waypoint and turned onto our waypoint for the entrance buoy for the St. Johns River. And for the next 36 hours, the boat was on autopilot, and we just had a nice, smooth trip for 285 miles approximately from that waypoint to the St. Johns River, and came down, spent a night at Jacksonville Landing, and from there we went to the Ortega River Boatyard to top off our fuel tanks, which we had last topped off at a marina in Coconut Grove before we crossed over to the Bahamas. And when we got to the Ortega River Boatyard, we took on 300 gallons of fuel, which would be about 60% of a load of fuel. Our fuel consumption on that trip, including generator use, on a very much of a daily basis because we spent so much time anchoring, our fuel consumption came out to 2.72 gallons per hour for the whole trip.
Krogan was also in contention, and we hadn't seen the Great Harbor yet, and the Krogan had some really neat things on it. But what made me decide on this boat, and then he has his own reasons probably, was I loved the draft, the 210 draft. That just seemed to me like you couldn't beat that. And the pilot house, the size of the pilot house just was so much better. And there were more pluses to this boat compared to the Krogan, in my opinion, than there were negatives. And we narrowed it down. Then we also were looking at catamarans, and because they have a lot of room too, but not like this boat. You want to add anything?
Yeah, and vis-a-vis the catamarans, they, I guess, are very good boats, but I am enough of a traditionalist that I am still a monohull person. The reason for the switch from sail to power was that we were going to go full-time, live aboard, and get rid of everything on land, including our houses and our cars and so forth. And we knew we would need a lot of storage space, and we felt that to get that on a sailing vessel, we would have to go up close to 50 feet in size, and then there would be questions about two people handling it, the height of the mast for bridge clearance, the draft that a big sailboat would need in terms of skinnier water, and we pretty much, and I also wanted a closed pilot house because I have had melanoma surgery, although it's many years ago. I do prefer being inside, out of the sun. And when we looked at our boat of choice before we bought the Great Harbor 37 was a Krogan 42, and they are very fine boats, but we felt this boat serves our purposes of coastal cruising and our needs better than any boat we have ever come across in our 4 years plus of living aboard full time.
And I also, when I found out that a catamaran, that it's possible to overload them, even though the space is there, you overload it, it's not going to go properly. And I've been told that you can't overload a Great Harbor 37, and I've put it to a really good test.
Believe me, Gail has tried.
All right.
Yes. In terms of how long we will continue to do this life, it is an open question. When we made the decision to move aboard full-time, we decided that this probably would not be what we would do for the rest of our lives, and the time will come that we will be thinking in terms of selling the boat, swallowing the anchor, at least for a while, and moving ashore at some point in time.
Well, we have talked recently about the situation, and I posed to my husband last spring that I think we probably, if we're lucky, will have another 10 years of really active activities, and whether he would like to be on the boat the whole 10 years or not. And he said there's some other things he'd like to do, so we're starting to formulate in our mind what we're going to do in the near future. We're just not quite positive at this moment.
Right. If you had to do this all over again, would you do it?
If we had it to do all over again, the lifestyle, yes. The fact that we are considering moving on to other things in our lives has nothing to do with any dissatisfaction with the lifestyle, with living aboard. We love the boat. As I said a little while ago, I have yet to see a trawler that I feel compares for our purposes with the Great Harbor 37. Would we do it all over again? I would think yes.
Yes, I would. I don't regret having done it. I'm very happy we have done it. I'm still enjoying it. Just don't think we'll be the ones that do it till we're 100 years old.
What to say?
Are you the oldest Great Harbor owner?
Well, in terms of changing the lifestyle, there are other things we have to do, and I feel we have to do them before Gail gets too old and I have to put her in a home.
That's what he always says when I worry that he's going to go before
that in
me.
because I say it all the time.
And he said, no, I won't go before you. He said, I'm going to help pick out a home for you. No thanks. But so we still enjoy our activities and want to do we want to do lots of different things. But this is what we chose to do for now, and we'll move on to plan 2 sometime in the near future or late future, whatever we decide. What words of advice would I have for someone looking to do this would be to be willing to take a couple years prior to really not have to downsize too fast, to get rid of your things in a logical sequence in a way that you won't regret down the road. Prepare relatives for the fact that this is something you both really want to do and are going to do. And other people's opinions affect us, but we do need to do what we want to do in our golden years. And be very flexible about being able to get places if you want to get rid of your cars and communicating. We're not tied to a laptop like a lot of people are. We still know how to write letters longhand, and we still rely on the telephone a lot. And I think some of the communications out there are great for people that are used to doing them all the time, but we haven't been used to email and the internet, and we haven't gotten there yet, have we, Gail?
Yeah. I would add to what Gail said perhaps 2 things. First, make sure, if we're talking in terms of a couple, make sure you both want to do this. Gail and I both wanted to do this, and everybody we know that are liveaboard cruisers, both people want to do it. If both people don't want to do it, there's going to be problems that you bring to the boat that may be insoluble as time goes on. And the second thing I would suggest is think very carefully about what you want to do with the boat and how you want to use it. If you want a boat for coastal cruising and going over to places like the Bahamas and visiting the islands, then I think the Great Harbor 37 is a very, very excellent choice. In our opinion, the best boat out there for that. If you want a boat for other purposes, I think you have to evaluate all the advantages and disadvantages of all of those things before you make your final decision.
And you need to come aboard realizing that some of your jobs are definitely crossed over from one to the other. I don't mean every single job, but you can't come aboard as a woman and be just doing all the meals and that's your only responsibility on the boat. You need to be able to help out or sometimes be the one that the other one helps out. And I don't mean every single job we both do, but we can. It's just that I've dug into engine room things along with Neil, and sometimes he'll join me, and neither one of us are real mechanical, but together we've made it work for 4 years. That was my biggest concern, was our lack of knowledge on how to fix things, and we've managed to get by. It hasn't always been perfect, but we've done it. Probably it would be good if you have a lot of time on your hands to take an engine maintenance course and some courses. We took a lot of power squadron courses, and they helped us in a lot of ways. So I think being open-minded about learning new things and being able to clean a macerator pump once in a while, which wasn't on my top 10 list, but sometimes you have to do that. And you do feel an accomplishment afterwards. It's not an accomplishment that you ever want to have to repeat, but sometimes you have to do those things, and you just have a lot of neat experiences most of the time.
I will add to what Gail said, or re-emphasize what she said. If you're going to go and spend a lot of time on the water, take some training through either the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary or the U.S. Power Squadron. They are good courses, and there will be a lot of carryover value to you when you start cruising. Now, to those of you out there who are not very good mechanically, let me tell you that I consider myself one of the 100 most mechanically inept sailors afloat today, yet I have managed to get by for 4 years, and the boat does continue to run. You will find in the cruising community out there, there are always people who are willing to help and will give good advice, including their time and their efforts, and help you a great deal. And the better off you are, the more knowledgeable you are mechanically, the better off you are. But to those of you who are like me, yes, it can be done.